up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new here. Hey, hello, my name is Angela and I make videos about law school, lawyer life, and all things in between. One common question I get from you guys is, how do I decide what type of lawyer I want to be? You guys, this is such a good question because there are so many different types of lawyers. If you guys haven't checked out part 1 of my different types of lawyers video, I will drop it down in the description box below, but that gives you just a little preview of how many different types of law practice areas there are out there. When the average person thinks about a lawyer, they usually think of what they see on TV, right? Either like a criminal lawyer, you know, something to do with crime, either a defense lawyer or prosecutor. Some people know about corporate law a little bit now that there are shows out there like Suits and stuff, but they really don't understand the depth of the legal practice and how many different paths you can go down. And so for those of you who are heading into law school, or you might even be in law school and you don't know what type of law that you want to practice, don't fret. That is okay and totally normal, okay? Many people don't know what they want to practice, and even the people that do know, a lot of times they go into law school thinking they want to practice something, and by the time they graduate, they have a whole different path, okay? So it is totally fine if you don't know or you're undecided. But in today's video, we're going to talk about some tips on how to make that decision. My first tip is to research your options. As I just mentioned, there are so many different paths. The only way you can make an informed decision is to know what your options are, okay? So get on the internet, talk to your legal network, and see what types of law there is. See what all your options are, okay? Know your options is the very first tip. The next tip is to talk to lawyers and other legal professionals about what types of law they practice, specifically if they practice an area of law that you may be interested in or an area of law that you want to know more about, okay? And you can go about this a few ways. I like to suggest that people do informational interviews where you invite someone to coffee or lunch and you just take some time to pick their brain. Another thing you can do is try to shadow people in their day-to-day, life, practicing as a lawyer, to try to get a better idea of what they do. Talking to different legal professionals will give you the insight and guidance that you need to make an informed decision. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking. I don't know any lawyers to shadow. I don't know any lawyers to reach out to ask for informational interviews. You guys, trust me, I was right there with you. I did not have any lawyers in my family. But y'all, it's 2023. You got LinkedIn, okay? You got the internet, you got social media, and you can reach out to people. There are some people who might not respond, but there will be people who are interested in helping you. A lot of lawyers like to pay it forward, okay? So don't be afraid to reach out to people, even if you don't have a relationship with them quite yet. Another thing is, once you get to law school, you will start making those organic connections with other legal professionals because of the types of events and things that you go to. When you join organizations, when you attend legal networking events, throughout all those sorts of interactions, you will be meeting legal professionals and lawyers that you can reach out to, build relationships with, and seek information and guidance from. The next tip is to audit your strengths, your interests, and your personal goals, and see what practice areas of law align with those interests and goals. So, for example, if you're really good at oral arguments and brief writing and things like that, you might want to look down the litigation path and then see what type of litigators there are. Or if you're really good at attention to detail, you like legal writing, the thought of negotiations kind of makes you excited, you might want to look towards a more transactional contract attorney type role and see what all the sub areas of a transactional lawyer are, because there's so many. But as you do that audit process, you will start to narrow down to what might align best for you and your strengths. The next tip is to try different courses in law school and see what classes you are drawn to versus what classes you really didn't enjoy and what classes, you really dislike. For example, me, I did not like con law. I knew anything related to con law, probably not going to be something I'd want to practice. I just got through the class because I had to take it and was ready to be done with it. Versus contracts, I really enjoyed contracts. It piqued my interest. So I started seeking classes where contracts was like the underlying foundation of the class. So for example, I took a contract negotiation course because I really like contracts. So you see what you like and kind of build on that, and then see what areas of law align with those new interests that you've gained after taking different law school courses. The next tip is to consider your ideal client. Like, who do you want to service? Who do you want to serve? This is super important because some people go into law school with like a passion to help a specific area of people or communities or entities, right? So some people go into law school and they know they want to help immigrants or help people become U.S. citizens or things like that. So they're drawn to more like immigration. Some people come in knowing they want to help children who suffer from abuse and domestic violence and all sorts of things like that. So they tend to go down the family law path and become guardian ad litems and things like that. For me personally, I knew I wanted to work in a business corporate setting. So that's how I was drawn to transactional law, because I knew I wanted to be more of a business type lawyers, because I knew that would open up certain opportunities for my future, like just thinking further ahead. Also think about who you don't want to serve. Like for me, for example, I love criminal law shows. I think if I was a different person in another life, I could practice criminal law. I think I would do a good job at like being a defense attorney and, you know, putting on a case in front of a jury and convincing them, you know, to say somebody's not guilty, or a prosecutor, you know, doing the other thing. I think my personality aligns with that. However, I know my mind and my heart and my emotions do not, right? I knew I did not want to be defending somebody who was accused of things like the R word or homicide or things like that. I also know that even if I was prosecuting those people, my heart couldn't take it. I'm too emotional. I get way too invested, and I just don't have a thick enough skin, I think, to be in that particular area of law. So I knew for sure that that wasn't for me. Taking note of those types of things and really auditing yourself, your strengths, what you can take, all those things will be really, really helpful in deciding what practice areas you might want to stay away from and which ones you might be drawn to. The next tip is to consider what you want your day-to-day to look like and what tasks and activities that you enjoy doing the most. So for example, if you know you want to be in the courtroom, if you know you want to be giving oral arguments and things like that, you're going to want to lean more towards litigation, because as a transactional lawyer, you're not going to court. I've never gone to court in my practice of law other than when I've done like pro bono type things. So, you know, if that was my passion, I obviously would have went down a different path. Or even the opposite. Some people know they don't want to get in front of a jury. They don't want to get in front of the judge. They don't want to, you know, do this public speaking. So they run away from litigation. That is not what they want their day-to-day to look like. They don't want to spend their days going to court, okay? They'd much rather be like me, boring lawyers who are typing away at their desk on calls and stuff all day. Some people absolutely cannot take that. Some people cannot sit there and look at 90-page contracts and be on the phone and emailing all day, you know? So those types of considerations can really help you figure out like what you dislike, and then also kind of figure out what you may love. Now, speaking of love, the next tip is to follow your passion and do what makes you happy. This is probably one of the most important tips, because the legal profession is not for the faint of heart. It can be very stressful. It can be a very challenging career. And you're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to have some lows, okay? It's just what it, I mean, I think that's just life, right? So the people who get through those days the easiest is the people who at the end of the day are doing something that they love. So say, for example, you are, you know, in family law, and your passion was to help children and make sure they're protected from abusive parents or things like that. So you could be having the worst week, nothing's going your way, the judge is denying motions, things are just terrible. But if you know at the end of the day that the work that you're doing is going to protect this little boy, this little girl from an abusive household that's causing them all sorts of trauma and things like that, you're going to have the will and the wherewithal to keep going and to get through those bad days, because you know that good day is coming where you get that little boy or that little girl out of that abusive household. So passion and doing what you love are super, super important to just kind of having a sustainable, somewhat happy, you know, long career in whatever you're practicing. Now, my last and final tip is very important, so listen up. And that is, remember, you can always pivot. You are not stuck in what you choose. Your first job out of law school doesn't have to be the career path that you go down. People don't say this often enough. I don't say this often enough, but you can always pivot. Okay, so don't feel stuck in something. If you don't love it, you can pivot. The skills that you learn in one legal area will help you in another legal area. You might be using them differently. You might need to learn additional things, but you are not stuck. Trust me, I have pivoted more than once in my career. I just made a recent pivot, and I was doing what I loved in my last career, but now I'm doing something else and I like it too. And I'm using skills from my previous path in my new path. One more time, say it with me. Don't be afraid to pivot, okay? All right, you guys, that's all I have for you guys. I hope you found this video very informational and very helpful. Please comment down below and let me know what types of videos you want to see so I can add them to the queue. Also, comment down below and tell your girl, hey, I mean, there's a lot of you guys that I haven't heard from. What's going on? You know, I've been trying to be consistent for y'all and show up for y'all. So if you here, you made it, you watched this video, let me know in the comments by dropping a wave or a smile or something. Let me know you're here, okay? Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at _theaspiringboss. I post on there 5 times a week. So I'm a lot more active over on the gram now than YouTube, here where I post every Sunday. Also, if you haven't already joined our group, The Aspiring Lawyers, y'all, we are glowing and growing, and it's just an opportunity for you to ask myself and other people who are on their legal journeys different questions and just kind of support each other and be there for each other and get some weekly motivation to keep going down this legal journey. All right. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.